So Donald Trump has a dream of abolishing the IRS. Well, you know, we're printing $1 trillion worth of debt every 100 days. He can't do that, but he's going to try something else. And he just made the announcement, and I want you to dig into it. He wants the world to pay off America's debt because he believes that the External Revenue Service can bring in the wealth of the nations into the United States. There's something most interesting about what is happening as God is repositioning America. You know that prophet? I'm going to verify this, but that prophet I've been worried about that had that prophecy about Trump getting shot and his ear bleeding. And then he said, but he's going to get elected because the surge of patriots is going to show up. And then he said, but he's going to be holding his head in his hands on his desk because of the breakdown of the economy and a Great Depression. Well, I just heard today, I'm going to verify it, that he has said because of the surge of the intercession of God's people, the Lord has moved back that margin call that is happening with $300 trillion of floating debt around the world, and God's going to move it back for our sake. And I believe this is true, which is why I want you to go look at the power of the silver and the power of the gold, like Haggai prophesied during the era of Trump. I've got a 12-page guide with a straightforward roadmap for what to do to diversify your savings and protect yourself from the economic warfares that are coming with the shaking of nations. Literally, just go to lancewallnau.com right now /gold, lancewallnau.com /gold, and get your 12-page guide on the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. And I think you're going to be delighted because there's no financial gimmicks or schemes you want to get involved in now. You want to have clear thinking regarding what to do because God's got plans for your future. Now let's get into today's show. Welcome to the Lance Wallnau Show. This week we are going to be covering El Presidente, Donald Trump, coming to office. Oh boy, how we've been waiting all this time. I hear that train coming around the bend. Oh, it's Trump's back since I don't know when. I got a heftier a train whistle here. Except it takes more breath to do that. Now, I had to, Mercedes is busy. She's running an organization now. She got promoted into executive directing this big organization. So she's busy now. And so I pulled Chelsea out of the producer role. Chelsea is eating lunch.
No, I'm done.
Hold up your lunch and let them know what you're doing behind that computer there.
I finished my lunch. I made a brisket. It was fantastic. Lance walked in and I went, oh no, I got to eat. I ate it real quick, but I'm done. But, Carl is also gone today.
Well, Carl isn't here. Carl's in here because he's on jury duty.
He texted me yesterday and said, I have jury duty. I won't be there today. And I said, Carl, I swear, if you get picked for this jury, Carl, I swear. And he did. He texted me later that day and he goes, I got picked for the jury. How exciting. And I said, of course you did, Carl.
And it reminds me of Steve Martin on jury duty. And so we're going to open the show. We have tons of news. I'm not minimizing the tragedy. And you can only take so much bad news, but then you got some good news, which is Donald Trump's getting inaugurated this week. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to be there right with him when it's happening. You'll see me probably. I'm not swearing him in, and I'm certainly not swearing at him. I'm going to be there, though. Maybe I'll turn around and wave to you. But I want to read to you Steve Martin's comments when he was on jury duty. This is classic. Report from jury duty. This is years ago. He was on jury duty, and he wrote these great tweets. He wrote, report from jury duty. I thought of my son. Defendant looks like a murderer. Guilty. I'm waiting for the opening remarks. He quickly, the person writes to him and says, Steve, if you're really on jury duty, you could get into trouble tweeting. And people do this with me all the time. They don't know when I'm joking. It's like, Lance, you can get in trouble doing that and announcing he's guilty. So be careful, Steve. Steve responded quickly. I'm kidding. Shh. Report from jury duty. Guy I thought was up for murder turns out to be the defense attorney, but I bet he murdered somebody anyway. And then he goes on. He goes to say Monday, 12:45 p.m. Report from jury duty. Prosecuting attorney. Don't like his accent. Serbian. I'm going with innocent. We're 5 minutes in. And of course, he's just like, this isn't to be taken seriously. Then he does his later on that day. I'm waiting for Carl. I wish my son Carl was watching this. Give me some tweets I could share with the audience. Report from jury duty. I'm cracking up the defense with my jokes. The judge is not pleased. Defendant finds me funny. He's a nice guy. Then 2 hours later, other jurors are stupid. First, they don't believe in hexes. Plus, they want me to put my magazines away. It's the art of comedy. Do you know what Lincoln said? Why did he read comedy during the Civil War? He said, I laugh because I must not cry. My hair today is popping up all over. I'm going to have it. I'm going to go see Holly tomorrow. My hair will be fixed tomorrow.
It's just that new hair growth.
Huh?
It's just that new hair growth from being so healthy. That's my problem.
Is your hair growing from all of the ancient nutrition products you're using?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I have lots of new hair growth. That's why our hair looks crazy, because we're being healthy and we have new growth.
We have new growth. Now, listen, I hardly know where to start. I got all these. Let's start with Trump, because he's going to be inaugurated this week. What does he come up with? Greenland. All right, you guys, I want you to go to the Posobiec explaining why the Panama Canal and Greenland is possible. I think he's stretching a little bit here, but we all have our own opinions. Go ahead, play the Posobiec thing while I try to find my piece of paper here.
Greenland was right of conquest because Denmark in 1940 whatever was occupied by the Nazis, and the deposed in exile prime minister of Greenland then signed the Mutual Defense Treaty of Greenland with us so that the Nazis wouldn't be able to use Greenland as a launching platform for the United States or anything like that. So that's when we put our military there. That's called right of conquest. It would not exist. Neither would Denmark exist at this point without the United States of America. So no, absolutely not. Now, of course, look, for the Panama Canal, there's no question. Here's how this is going to go. We're going to park an aircraft carrier on one end and an aircraft carrier on the other end, and we're going to say, sign the new treaty. It's going to be pretty simple there. But for Greenland, I would argue that the United States has been providing military defense to Greenland for far longer than a lot of people are pointing out, and in a way that does actually grant us certain rights to it.
I'm sorry, but I think it's fascinating. Can you imagine any other president, Mitt Romney or McCain or someone saying, first thing I'm going to do is Canada, 51st state. Oh, I'm going to make that argument all year long. Panama Canal coming back to us. I know we gave it away. I'm taking it back. It was a bad deal. And Greenland, there's only 50,000 people there, and it's owned by Denmark. I mean, who are they? I think it's up for grabs. I'm taking it. Russia can't have it. China can't have it. I'm there first. Like putting a flag on it. Like we went to the moon. I should have claimed that. But I wasn't president then. So what's the data on this, Chelsea? You're always up on social media. So Charlie Kirk went there and Donald Trump Jr., and what did they find out?
Yeah, I was watching Charlie Kirk's show. It's so good. He went to Greenland with Donald Trump Jr. and a couple other people, and they were greeted by a very, very large crowd of people who live there. And people were wearing Trump hats. People were so excited to see them. They kept hearing people tell them, we love Trump. We would love to be a part of America. And one thing he was sharing was a story of, I believe it was a young man came up to him and said, near my village, which is a couple hours away, we actually have rubies, I believe he said tennis ball size, very large rubies. And the Danish government won't allow them to mine them. They won't allow them to mine their own natural resources because of some, belief I think the Danes have.
It's because they're European. They're so woke over there. They're so weirdly woke. They're like, wow, worse. At least in America, we had the woke virus, but we didn't like it. Over there, it's like they've just accepted it. Anyway.
I don't think it's. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Interrupt me.
Well, I don't think
you're
it's
in Mercedes' seat. Why not?
Well, I don't think it's just about the natural resources. It's also about where it is, about the location of this place. So it goes back to World War II, when we had control of that country during World War II, because it's very close to Russia. They didn't want other countries taking over it. So I believe a lot of it has to do with national security also, is wanting to absorb Greenland.
Oh, yeah. Now, we don't have that image here. Maybe in post, hint, hint, our team could put it in. Greenland is strategically, Chelsea, from looking down from the North Pole, it's right there. I mean, it's the new trade route, especially with the ice caps that are melting and separating apart. It's creating new trade routes that China, Russia, all the nations, it shortcuts over into that whole part of the world. Go over the globe, over this way, rather than go around. Trump's got, it's like a whole different geography. Show image 11. Greenland's support for joining us. What are we looking at there, Chelsea?
Well, 57.3% of Greenland approve support for joining the USA, whereas 37.4% disapprove. So I would believe we have the majority on our side.
And if you put them together, you have the Mexican flag, the green and the red. And that tells us that Trump's next plan is to start talking about the Gulf of Mexico being the Gulf of America. And why is he doing that? Chelsea pointed out why Trump was really interested in doing that. Even though it's a specious legal argument, he is trying to expedite some drilling. Explain the theory.
Well, the theory I heard, and please leave in the comments, tell me if I'm wrong.
Wait a second. Is this you and your Mercedes living in TikTok? You know, all my information on my news show is coming from millennials with TikTok.
No, it's not
This
TikTok.
concerns me.
I haven't been on TikTok. I've been reading the Citizen One Free Press website. You know, I listen to Charlie Kirk probably just as much as I listen to you, which is probably terrifying.
Wait a second.
I know.
You're listening to Charlie Kirk more than you're listening to me.
No, not as much.
It's true.
Not as much, but a lot. But I don't know if I heard it there or where I heard it. But the theory I heard was there were some executive orders, some laws passed, making it very, very difficult to drill in the Gulf of Mexico. And so one way of getting around the laws or the executive orders, whatever was passed, and you know, my dad was in oil for a long time, and he'll tell you it's very difficult to drill in the Gulf, is if you change the name to a Gulf of America, it's kind of a way to circumvent all those rules, and it will make it easier for us to drill in the Gulf of America because you're not supposed to, it's easier to drill. Sorry.
I
following me?
So if Trump says if he could just rename it, he can bypass all that red tape. I'm not so sure that argument works, but I could see why it would get on TikTok or the Citizens Free Press. But anyway, I'm not being condescending to the theory. I think it should be the Gulf of America. I think the Panama Canal was a dumb idea. One of those altruistic, America's such a generous and good nation. For $1.50, we're going to give you control over our trade routes. Oh, by the way, China, if you take over the Panama Canal, you've got us. That ain't going to work. By the way, we got 1 minute left. I want to talk to you when we come back. Donald Trump has announced he would love to announce he's abolishing the IRS. Do you know? There again, Chelsea told me that you got 40 seconds. Explain to them how come we only had income tax invented in the late 1800s, because up until then, we made all our money off of tariffs. Isn't that right, Chelsea Hicks?
Yes. So what I was reading and learning about was in the late 1800s, our economy was thriving, doing really well. From what I've heard, we had more money than we knew what to do with. And all of our income was based off of tariffs, imports, exports, things like that. We didn't have the IRS. We didn't have income tax. We didn't have sales tax. We didn't have the 120% taxes I feel like we have today.
In Trump's fantasy football,
yeah,
he would abolish the IRS and have America supported off of all the nations doing business with us, and we'd have all the money in the glorious golden age of Trump. We'll be right back.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Lance to save big on all of Mike's best products. That's promo code Lance.
All right, I want to come back to talking about, Donald Trump, but I have a note here on Greenland. Greenland's PM is ready to talk with Trump, maintains territory's desire for independence. Yes, the word that is going to be coming out on from these people is they want their sovereignty. They want their independence. There's only 50,000 people. This is the thing I can't understand. all that land, and there's 50,000 people. It's like having, 25 people in Edmonton, Canada or something. So it's not like, well, I guess you could say they got a country there. But I mean, there's but Denmark, how Denmark owns it, but Greenland is its own, place with its own name. It's not called, like we're New England and then there's Old England. This is like not New Denmark, but it's Greenland. And here's the thing, all those MAGA people that you're saying, I don't know if it's true. Obviously, a bunch of them could be red hats on for a photo op with Charlie Kirk and Don Jr. But that the survey did show the majority. Here's the thing. We just sent $200 billion to the Ukraine. I know we throw these numbers around. Most of us can't relate to it. $1 trillion here, $1 billion there. Was it 200 million sent to the Ukraine?
I believe we've sent them billions and billions, but
we're sending billions. Find out how much we sent over the Ukraine, all told so far for the war with Russia. And while you look that up, I did some quick math. 50,000 people. There's only 30,000 adults over the age of 25 in Greenland's icy mountains. Why, if I was Donald Trump, I'd say it's, a country like that's worth trillions of dollars. The mineral assets, the oil, as you said, the rubies, the whatever, the land, it's worth trillions. What if you were to give $1 million to each adult over the age of 25? 30,000 people getting $1 million each, just as a Donald Trump gift to have us build that country up and make it great and have us secure and be secure for the rest of your life for the threat of foreign powers. It would only cost what would that be? Like $30 billion. $30 billion. How much have we given to Ukraine so far?
Total, we've given them $64 billion with a B, and the last payment sent was $500 million.
64 billion we'll never see come back, and we didn't get Ukraine. $65 billion. For $30 billion, we could have Greenland. Now, Trump will do better than that because he'll negotiate. He's not even going to go there. He's going to do it for less than $30 billion. He'll do it with a referendum, and they'll vote and kick out Denmark, and then they'll vote and decide they want to become, a whatever you call it, an auxiliary of the United States. But I'm saying, of course, they're going to want to be autonomous, and it's absolute necessity that they have that autonomy. But I think Trump's got an interesting point. He doesn't have leverage over them. That's the only problem. He's got to sell them. It's not like he's got, like with Canada, they owe us some horrendous figure. I think it's $800 million trade deficit, and Trump is saying that he wants them to make that up right now, beginning on day one, which is why Trudeau got bounced out. He knows their economy can't do it. How much?
They owe $328.7 billion to the U.S.
What was I saying? Million. It's $328 billion. That's what they owe?
Yep. It says, I looked it up on Google. It has the AI overview. It says Canada owes the U.S. $328.7 billion. This makes Canada one of the countries that own the most debt to the U.S.
What is the annual trade deficit? Look up trade deficit with Canada. Annual trade deficit with Canada. I think that's like $1 billion a year.
The United States has had a trade deficit with Canada in every year since 1985, excluding services. In 2022, the U.S. had a trade deficit of $53.5 billion with Canada.
Billion?
Billion with a B.
I know you're not going to like this in Canada, but you're going to say, and I understand that you have your own sovereignty, and Canada has its own maple leaf flag, and it has its own culture, and I get it, but I know it's going to happen. It's the beginning of something unraveling in the last days. It's the shaking of nations, and I'm going to tell you the future. Trump is going to put the squeeze on the nations, including Canada. He's not going to cave. He's not going to cave because America needs every dollar it can get in the war with China for global dominion of who's going to control the currency, communism or capitalism. And he's gonna require it. And if they don't give it, then he's going to say, all right, we'll make a deal. This is the way the man is. Pray for him. This is not something J.D. Vance will do. J.D. Vance is learning from Trump how to be Trumpian. But J.D. Vance is not Trump. He wouldn't have gone into office on day one saying, I think we're going to take Greenland and Panama and I think Canada while we're and rename the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it takes somebody like Trump to come up with that. Hey, did you guys hear what he's doing with J.D. Vance says there's a deal to be made in Greenland, and Trump's refusal to rule out military force to acquire Greenland. Okay, Trump rolled out for, of course, you don't take it over by conquest, but it's currently defended by NATO because of Denmark. But here's the reality. If Trump tried to do it militarily, all of NATO would have to fight the United States. That ain't going to happen. But if they reject Denmark, then NATO drops out, then there's no NATO defense treaty. But even so, it's just really important for America strategically and the natural reserve. And as climate change reshapes the Arctic, it ignited heightened competition among global superpowers. So I'm trying to tell you, it has to do with that, the critical pathway around over the globe. Anyway, you guys got the point. Let's go to Trump wants to eradicate the IRS. Is there nothing this man will not consider? But he can't eradicate the IRS while America is $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. Folks, that is all, even with Doge and what we're talking about, Elon Musk and Vivek, they can't possibly cut. And Sirius, they don't have the authority to cut anything anyway. They can just propose. It's that you watch how slow the bureaucracy is to clip away all of the fat that's on there, on the arteries of government. So we're in huge threat. The only good news is the whole world is upended with $300 trillion worth of global floating debt out there, with a giant margin call that's just waiting to happen, like the movie Margin Call. But Donald Trump can't mess with the IRS. He'd like to abolish it. Like you said, hey, there was a time when America didn't even need taxes because our money, we were flush. And that would have been back in the 1800s, late 1880s, right?
Yeah, that's what I was reading, was in the late 1800s, we had several tariff taxes. I was trying to read up on it earlier while we were doing a break. Let's see.
What?
Like Andrew Carnegie, Rockefeller, they supported high tariffs as they reduced competition on foreign goods. So it helped our local economy. It also brought in a lot of money. The Gilded Age. This was like during the Gilded Age, from what I understand. It was marked by explosive growth in railroads, steel production, oil refining. But anyways, we had a lot of tariffs, and that brought in a lot of revenue for the country. And so from what I understand, that's kind of the theory.
And the theory was that we'd be low income tax because we had plenty of. So you listen to Trump's idea here. Just you'll be watching this whenever Chelsea gets it edited and in your face out there. But it just came out today.
It's here on the screen with you.
Well, they're at a TV camera right in front of it, so I'll just read it from here. For too long, we have relied on taxing our great people using the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements. The American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. Isn't that something? We built China into our global competitor by letting them in to the capitalist system and thinking we were going to change them, and they didn't change. And then we killed our own economy. The American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to everybody else, while we increase the burden of taxation to ourselves. It's time for that to change. I'm today announcing that I'm going to create not the Internal Revenue Service, but the External Revenue Service to collect our tariffs, our duties, and all revenue that come from foreign sources. We're going to begin charging those that make money off us with trade, and they're going to start paying. Finally, he says in all caps, their fair share. After all these years, January 20th, 2025 will be the birth date of the External Revenue Service. I'm going to start taxing the world like Caesar, sending out a census for taxation. We're going to make America great again. And of course, when America's great, the world is safe. When America's great, the Christians are less persecuted around the globe. When America's great, the ruffians, thugs, and demonic entities that would trouble other regions of the country or the nations of the earth, they sit back and say, oh, shoot, what's the calculus involved here? I remember when I was at the National Prayer Breakfast. You guys get ready for video 13. Get it ready. I was at the National Prayer Breakfast with Trump years ago when they were trying to impeach him. And he was so hot under the collar. And my wife is Pentecostal, and she'd be praying, as we say, in the Holy Ghost. She's praying. I hear her under her voice. I said, why are you praying like that? She goes, this is what I do when you preach. Evidently, I get myself in trouble when I preach. She'd be praying fervently. And so she's praying because Trump is upset. What does he do? He goes, I can't believe. Yeah, you guys miss this stuff. All this drama doesn't get in the news. It's the funny stuff. It's the interesting stuff, which I know my audience likes. He says, he gets up there. God's my witness. I'm not exaggerating. He has a newspaper. Can you believe this? Pelosi's sitting up here, nice little Christian. All these Democrats, nice Christians, they're the ones that are trying to impeach me and pull me out of office. And they're acting like they're Christians here while they're trying to destroy me behind my back. Hypocrites, that's what they are. He was like a prophet, a newborn Christian with no self-control, prophetically anointed to just ventilate. He said, I see Russell Brunson here from Turkey. Good to see you back with your wife. Yeah, I remember that. Turkey had you hostage. You know, there were 20 Americans that were hostage all over the world when I stepped into office. 20. You didn't hear about that. They were all over the world. Guess what? They sent them back. None of them wanted to keep American hostages. Why do you think no country wanted to keep an American hostage when I came in? I know why. Do you know why? It's an interesting comment. And then he moved on to whatever the prayer breakfast agenda was. But oh my gosh, I'm going to miss it this year. You know, I'm going. He's become more presidential, though. He doesn't go fly loose like that. He knows how the role is, kind of statesmanlike. In a sense, he's more polished. You know, I can't believe we're out of time already. When we saw tomorrow's broadcast, we're going to play for you this hilarious lip reading of Obama and Trump. Some of you have already seen it, but it's gotten, I think it's actually, they got at least 3/4 of this thing so accurate, it's scarily hilarious. But we got more to do. Oh man, the Zuckerberg thing, and I got a Natalie Winters takedown of Zuckerberg. This is going to be tomorrow's broadcast. You don't want to miss it, but I'm going to have to sign off today. Chelsea, how can they stay in touch with us?
Please subscribe anywhere you watch. If it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Getter, Rumble, we're literally everywhere. We are literally everywhere. Please subscribe anywhere you watch so you can get notified of new episodes. You can watch the next episodes. We would love to stay connected with you. I promise you, Lance really does go through and read the comments on a lot of these. It's pretty funny.
I do. I'm obsessive at 2 or 3 in the morning. I mean, people are arguing, why are you talking to these people? Especially, I'm always arguing with people. I don't know why, because I get cranky late at night. That's because I can't get to sleep and stuff. Look at these people. What are they saying? Anyway, I love you. You're the people I'm here for. I'll see you again tomorrow. God bless you.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate